The number of people desperate for government help to pay for essentials like food and rent is skyrocketing, with advocates warning that won't change until baseline benefits increase. Figures released today from the Ministry for Social Development show that in December there were 15,000 more people on the benefit than a year earlier. That was a 5% increase, bringing the total number of people on a benefit to 314,000. The numbers also paint a grim picture of people struggling to pay for the basics, with $30 million handed out to cover emergency food grants alone. Our cameraman, Nick Monro, and reporter Nita Blake-Persen filed this report.
It's a new year, but the same struggles for Auckland man Gary Cash.
At the moment, we're living overcrowded. We all live in one room. There's 6 of us. It's me, my partner, and our 4 children. And money-wise, well, we're having to get a lot of loans from places like cash converters, pretty penny loans. We're pawning things off into the pawn shop just to feed our kids, because we've used up all our advances, all our food grants are all used up. So we pretty much can't go for any more food grants, and it's the beginning of the year, so that's pretty much there with the money thing.
A year ago, the 31-year-old father of 4 was working at the Otahuhu Meatworks and says life was good.
We could afford anything we wanted, anything we needed. But now it's like every cent counts.
About 8 months ago, he got an abscess and is now on a lengthy waiting list for surgery. He can't work while he waits and has been stressed and struggling while on the job seekers benefit.
We're pretty much starving 3 days a week. Me and my partner will starve for 3 days a week. One day we won't eat. We'll just have a little bit and make sure the kids get fed, because there's just not enough food. Getting to a point where it's almost breaking up our family, which I don't want.
Gary says at $191 a week, his benefit doesn't come close to cutting it, and he's not alone. Latest government figures show requests for financial hardship assistance are skyrocketing. In the 3 months to December, the Ministry for Social Development handed out $165 million worth of grants, an increase of $56 million on the year before. Money for food and emergency accommodation made up a large portion. $30 million went towards food grants, and motel stay costs more than doubled to $48 million. Gary's not surprised by the numbers, but says they don't show the whole picture.
No, numbers are nothing. Numbers are just seeing how many people are going through it. They're not actually seeing each and every individual person that's going through it, what they're actually going through. It leads to a lot of things, from suicide to domestic violence to starving children, poverty. All these kind of things, it's just messing everyone's lives up.
The struggles aren't limited to Auckland. Nelson Budget Service Manager Rosalie Grant says benefit rates are driving more and more people into hardship.
Benefit rates are enough to cover your accommodation, some transport costs, your electricity, and that's kind of it. There might be a little bit left over for food. If you have a car, well, good luck. And if you've got children, that's even harder.
She says hardship assistance funds will continue to climb unless benefit rates increase. The increase was recommended in the government's Welfare Advisory Group's report last year, and Susan St John of the Child Poverty Action Group says today's figures only confirm the desperate need.
Surely the evidence is such that the increased demand for these highly complicated, difficult things to apply for, that extra demand indicates that core benefits are simply not high enough.
But Social Development Minister Carmel Supoloni is giving no indication a change is on the horizon.
Oh, look, I want to make sure that anyone that has access with the welfare system, that they are treated with dignity. Income adequacy is an area that we've discussed over and over again, and is something that we take seriously as a government. And so I can't commit to any one initiative, but as I said, it is a consideration.
She says the government is focusing their efforts elsewhere.
Our focus is on making sure that anyone that is eligible for support will get that. And as I said, we've already introduced the Families Package measures. We had this year's budget where we saw other measures introduced that will have an impact on income adequacy, and so we'll continue on that path.
Gary Cash says that's disappointing. After last election, he believed things might be different for those struggling.
That was the first time I ever voted, and I was like, I might as well vote. I voted Labour, and then when I heard all their promises, I was thinking, it should get better, and then nothing really changed.
But Gary remains hopeful for 2020. He's on a mission to get well, find a job and spend time with his family. But he's well aware he's not alone in his struggle.
A lot of people need help out here.